Yo,
Gary, how are we?
all right. What are you saying?
I was losing complete track of time there. We were too busy chatting away in the black and white room, Gary. And
I know, and it's without tempting fate. It's one of the first weeks we've not come on giggling because we've had techno problems.
techno problems.
Did I say techno?
It's because you're reading about Tom Maguire and the Brassholes, Techno Jesus, which of
maybe
course
it was. Remember
is
that?
a wonderful intro.
Remember techno?
Before my time, Gary.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
But we were getting carried away. We've got some fantastic guests on, but all in due course we'll come to who's on the programme tonight. But I'm still getting over last week. Last week was a belter, wasn't it, Gary?
That was good fun. It was really good fun. And I was going to wear my mask tonight because one of the prizes for last week has already been delivered.
Oh, has it? We had two winners. And for those who have just joined us that maybe never watched last week's show, first of all, welcome. Good evening. Welcome to Paisley Community Chat Show with myself, Andy Campbell, and
Gary Kerr, just to see if there's anyone else in the room. So that's me, and that's Andy.
We need to practice that a bit more, Gary. We need to get slicker on that.
You move the screen a bit, and maybe it gets easier.
All right, just kind of like
this. Can you do that? Is it? You've got a lever there, haven't you? Just a zoom.
But
oh dear. So there's some words coming up.
What?
Some words coming up the side. I just don't know where they are, Andy.
I'm
hoping they're polite.
I don't know. What do you reckon? Well, is this a swear word?
Well, it's for Piero.
Exactly.
It's bound to be. No, I go back to last week's show, Andy. Great fun. So the prizes were a wee bit ad hoc, but one's been delivered and the other one's waiting to be claimed.
Well, if whoever won them, we need to look back in the programme to see who won them, but if you've got a prize to collect, and just as a reminder, folks, last week we had a pub quiz, so it was a pub special last week. We had a tour of the lane in Paisley, which was fantastic. That was great. First time to see around there. Then we had we had pub quiz.
Yeah.
Then we had karaoke.
We had a wrong answer thing going on.
We had the wrong answers, funniest wrong answers only, and then we had the answers to the pub quiz.
We did. I got to the bottom of Piero's wrong answer.
Which one was that, Gary?
Jimmy Savile.
Oh, right, let's not go there. It's a family show.
That was his wrong answer to who opened the piazza.
Right.
Yeah, just thought I'd clear that up just for the nation.
Just in case. And it was, of course,
Sean Canary.
Mr.
A wee bird told me. It was a wee bird told me it was Sean Canary.
Sean Canary. Well, listen, folks, thanks for joining in. We've got Jackie in the house already.
Yo.
How are you, Jackie? And we've got Ramy, who changes his name on Facebook all the time, does he? He's now Ramy Duffmeister.
Ramy's the man. I followed his holiday there live on Facebook, blow by blow. Looked as if he had a brilliant time, Ramy.
Oh, fantastic, Ramy. And there's someone that we're looking forward to, one of our other guests coming up. But so last week was a belt and show, and there's been a few things that have been happening and a few things that haven't been happening in Paisley this week. And one thing, hold on, I'll come to that in a minute. But one thing, Gary, that wasn't happening this week was Doors Open Day.
It didn't happen, and it wasn't happening. But there's a sterling effort getting made online by the council boards.
Absolutely. And for those that have maybe not caught it, clearly due to COVID, which we'll talk about in a moment, Doors Open Day couldn't happen. So the council and their partners, all the organisations that are out there that open their doors, decided to put on a Doors Open Day online. And if I click this button, it should magically appear on screen.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good website, that, Andy. And one thing, I had always been fascinated looking at the outside of the Methodist halls. Have you been in there?
I have. Yeah. I've been in and about the Methodist halls, not extensively, but I have definitely been in it.
Yeah, and I think Methodist Halls is on that site, and I think what that site, the purpose of it is to give you an opportunity, if with doors open day being cancelled for obvious reasons, that you can actually click on there and have a look around virtually.
Absolutely. So here it's on the Paisley Is, and if you just go on Paisley Is homepage and then just type in doors open, you get to see all these wonderful places in our town and in the surrounding Renfrewshire area. And some of them, like the Methodists, has got this little, they'll have a little video.
Yeah.
And
fascinating inside that, Andy.
I'll not play it all, but you can click through it and you can see. Look at that.
I think that's an amazing space in there. You wouldn't know if you've not been in the Methodist halls. I would recommend you take a look at that video, and you'll be astounded by the sheer ambition of it, actually, and the scale of it. And it's hidden. It's a hidden gem.
Someplace. Absolutely. You've also got the Secret Collection in there. For those of you that don't know, the Secret Collection is in Paisley High Street, and you can take a wee tour in that particular one. Renfrewshire Fire Station, if you're there. There's places that I didn't even know existed, Gary. I hate to say that, but there's places that I didn't even know existed that are all on there. So well done to the team at Renfrewshire Council and Paisley Is.
Yeah, good job.
Pulling all of that together. That's fantastic. We'll put the link up a bit later on for everyone. But
so that's something that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen. So
what did happen?
You said something did happen, something didn't happen.
Well, something that caught my eye, Gary, was somebody mentioned the C word, Gary.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about COVID.
Right.
I'm talking about Christmas.
Yeah. That got brought up in Parliament the other day. Did you know that?
What, Christmas?
Somebody asked, I think it was Bojo, the buffoon, they asked him, so does that mean Christmas is cancelled?
Right.
With all this stuff that's going on. He says, no, of course not. There's something happening in Paisley that we want you to contribute to. Was that what caught your eye?
Boris said that. Well, listen, this didn't catch my eye because somebody tagged Paisley Community Trust on this on Facebook. And again, I wasn't aware of this, but it's caught my eye, and it's an organisation that you'll find on Facebook called Renfrewshire Christmas Toy Bank.
Yeah.
And they are looking for donations. And it tells you on here all of the information that you need to know. They're looking for donations that would be new, or if you'd like to donate by cash, you can do so. And they are providing new toys and various other things for Christmas to families that are perhaps struggling a little bit. Gift packages are giving out on a referral basis.
Yeah.
They work closely with Renfrewshire Council, Renfrewshire Food Bank, and all the information is there. I just thought that was absolutely wonderful, Gary.
Yeah, that's really worthy, Andy, and I know it might be in some people's minds quite early for Christmas, but Christmas will still happen in whatever style, shape or form, and there's those people who are less fortunate than others that need our help. So delighted to be able to highlight Renfrewshire Toy Bank. Is that what it's called, Andy?
It's Renfrewshire Christmas Toy Bank, and they're also the shout out and the thing that we get tagged in, Gary.
Yeah,
is these drop off points. I hope that can display okay on folks' screens. But they're looking for if you own a business or know someone who does. We would like to know if you would be up for acting as a drop off point for us. So I'm presuming that's maybe for taking in collections.
Yeah.
So there's lots of comments on there. So if you're in business, and you can see actually in some of these comments here, there's very nice food they're happy to be involved in. Again, Sprinkles Renfrew, Lauren Roy Sutherland tagged us in it. So thank you for that, Lauren. That was great. But I just thought that's fantastic. Never too early to start thinking about Christmas, Gary.
Yeah, well, it crossed my mind last Sunday in M&S last Sunday getting dinner.
Right.
and
Dining
they're
for
selling
two, Gary, was it?
yeah, it was the Sunday pizza. They're selling Christmas stuff already, and the like Christmas bags and cards and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's no, it's good. It's good, and you know, so if you can support that, folks, it'd be great. And of course, go on.
There'll be more of that, Andy. We'll keep an eye on that.
Absolutely, we'll keep an eye on all of that. And obviously, we mentioned one C word, which was Christmas, and we can't but avoid the fact that the other C word, COVID, has reared its ugly head again, Gary, in Renfrewshire.
There's a lot of C words on here tonight. Thank God Janie Godley's not on.
Oh, geez, my goodness.
we'd be verging on C words that we don't want to broadcast.
Don't want to go there.
Yeah, we knew it was coming, Andy. We seen it coming elsewhere in the west of Scotland, and we kind of got a feeling that something was about to give here as well. I don't know how to take it, but I think as a responsible group, we should just be saying to people, go carefully. I think it's basically, don't be a tube, don't have parties, don't have too many folk around your house, and try and keep your distance and be safe. And when I'm in the office, it's about washing hands as well. So all those basic things. That's my message to the nation, Andy. What's your message to the nation?
Well, I think ultimately, be careful, everyone. There's guidance out there of what we should be all adhering to, and I'm sure we want to support our traders in a sensible and mature way. So if we can do that, if we can not have the house parties, but follow the guidance that we've been given, hopefully that gives enough breathing space to the medical experts to produce what they need to produce to make us all safe again, Gary.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Andy. I know the football thing's starting to bubble up, but I've got fears for that. The St Mirren game at the weekend had potential of having some people in it, but that's been cancelled. The game's on, but having people in is cancelled. They're having it elsewhere in the country where it's perceived to be safer.
Aye, well, it's going to be tough, but we'll just have to say, folks, listen, guidance out there. Renfrewshire is got additional lockdown measures on it. We don't want that to happen. We want to try and have an easy balance out there.
Yeah.
But
remain vigilant and remain safe. That's
indeed. Gary, I've got some other breaking news as well.
Oh, I seen that earlier, Andy, and I was flummoxed. I didn't know how to.
It's now nearly 8:15, and my cup of tea isn't appeared yet, Gary.
Well, what can I say?
What can I say? I need to play some adverts and then can nip downstairs and put the kettle on myself.
Well, maybe in line with tonight's show, you're having a latte.
We might be having a latte. Absolutely.
Having a latte. Last week you had the Peroni. You might be getting another one of them.
Well, that was good. We had a wee. Yeah, you had a wee tinny. I had a bottle of beer last week. That was good. I enjoyed that. I bought another couple of them during the week. That was a really nice beer. Oh, that was Camden Well. Camden. It's a brand, isn't it? It's M&S with a posh thing on it. But it was nice, really nice. Making you look all hipster, Gary. I know. We'll be growing a beard next. Watch out. Wee point of beard. So Gary, I know we've got a cracking show lined up, and we're going to talk about that. But one of our guests is missing from the Black and White Room. They dipped in earlier on, yeah, but they seem to be missing in action, Gary. Oh, seriously? Have we got a guest? Can you not see the Black and White Room? No, I don't get to see the tech side. You don't? No, I don't see any of that. Right. Well, we're missing our first guest, Gary. Oh dear. Oh, well, we'll just have to have a second guest, and we'll talk about the first guest. Absolutely. We'll see if we can get the first guest to come on second, then, Gary. Because it did work. Somebody sent me a message. I wonder what that is. No, it's not that. Wasn't it that one? No, it's something to do with Lily Allen, but that's just quite random. Who's not our guest on tonight's show? Nothing to do with the Tonight Show. Lily Allen is not on the show tonight. She's not on the show. There's an idea, but tonight's show was inspired by Oh, it's working now, Gary. It's working now.
Is it there? We don't need to.
We're all good.
We don't need to have a reason to make connections related to tonight's subject and to find people to come on and talk about their connection to the town and why their families arrived in the town. But the Italian connection was too strong, and Piero inspired us the other week, being on the show, and I had a chat with him the other week about the Italian connections in Barga in particular.
Yeah.
And he threw a picture at us. He threw this picture.
Right.
Which you have ready there, Andy.
I do have ready. Technology. We need to redecorate the studio first before I put the picture up, Gary.
What are you going to do?
Well, given the fact that tonight is an Italian special, Gary, I thought rather than having our usual theatrical red curtains in the background, we'd go all Italian, Gary. How does that look?
I think that makes us look really good. I think we should do. I think that's pretty cool.
That looks all right. So, and then what we can do just seamlessly, Gary, is that when I then go to show the pictures and you want to show this one, it just appears on the Italian flag. Tell us about that image, Gary.
So that's pretty cool. So that was sent in. We get permission to use that. Michael and Elaine Campbell gave us permission to use that picture. And if you zoom right in underneath Barga, I'm pretty sure it says the most Scottish town in Italy.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And it's not even a twin town. I don't think Paisley's got a twin town in Italy, but I know Piero's got a connection to Barga, and there's a lot of Barga connection in Paisley, and there's a restaurant now down the bottom of New Street called Barga. So Italy's a big thing, and they've always been very welcome, and the contribution in our culture that our two guests in particular make to our town is not insignificant.
Fantastic, Gary. So will we introduce our first guest, Gary?
Absolutely.
I'll leave you to do the honours.
Yeah. Well, I used to stoat into the chippy and play this bagatelle on a regular basis. I think it's still there. But we're very welcome from Castelvecchi, and we'll need to have a chat about that because I probably pronounced that wrong. We've got Alfredo Notini.
Hello there, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Alfredo. How are you?
Alfredo, how are you?
Thank you. Yes, I'm still at Castelvecchi's.
Is it Castelvecchi?
Well, that was my grandparents' name, and the Italian way to pronounce it is Castelvecchi because the C is pronounced that way.
So we had a chat about this the other week, Andy, didn't we? We were talking about Castelvecchi and Castelvecchi, and how is it pronounced?
Well, depending, in the Scottish way, the CH is Castelvecchi, but if you say the Italian way, it's Castelvecchi.
So, Gary, I was voted down on that one, Gary, on the show because I was taught that it was Castelvecchi's, and everybody came on and went, no, it's Vici, and I went, I was told it was. So, Alfredo, you've backed me up on this one tonight. Thank you so much.
Well, they're both right, but depending on the pronunciation, I would say Castelvecchi.
Straight from the horse's mouth. So what else can you say? So, Andy, on you go,
Gary.
No, you go. I don't want to go.
Say, Alfredo, you've got your fan club in tonight, all the way from New York.
Yes.
We've got Elise joining us. We've got Geraldine, we've got Lisa, Elizabeth, Jackie's in, Piero. We're just, you've got a watching from Ireland. You've brought them all in tonight, Alfredo.
More popular than Ginny Godley, Alfredo.
Well, I've been here a few years. I've seen a few generations passing through.
Absolutely, and we're wanting to hear that story, but most people will know you, Alfredo, but there might be one or two people that don't. If you want to give yourself a proper introduction of who you are and what you do in the town.
Well, obviously I'm Alfredo Nutini. I've owned and run Castelvecchi's, the chip shop, fish and chip shop in New Street. I'm the third generation of my family to run Castelvecchi's. It was started by my mum's mum and dad, Alfredo and Mary Castelvecchi, who started it in 1914.
Okay.
it was run by my mum and dad, and then they went on to my sister and I, and then my sister retired, and I'm the only one left. Me and David here run it, and now I don't see there being a fourth generation taking over, but you never know.
You never know, Alfredo, and it's it's such a landmark in the town. Everyone knows of the chip shop, and they know of you, and you've been here for such a long time. You've seen lots of changes in the town over the years, have you not?
Well, first, can I just say it saw out 2 world wars.
Wow.
And the pandemic. So
fingers crossed.
And the only thing that closed it was the pandemic. It didn't close through the 2 world wars.
Well,
yeah,
that's amazing.
There's definitely a lot of changes in Paisley. I mean, even in my days alone, there used to be, the high street was jumping. There was 4 or 5 cinemas. There was a couple of dance halls. Every shop was taken in the high street. You could hardly walk in the high street on a Saturday in my younger days. You could go to Woolworths and Boots and listen to your records in the wee wooden booths and plug your earphones in, pick your singles and your LPs.
Oh,
There's
totally.
nobody left. There's nothing left.
Totally. There used to be that many. You walk up and down that high street. There's that many shoe shops, Alfred, weren't there?
I know. There was everything. I mean, every shop was taken. I think from Wells Street down to Glasgow Road. Every shop was taken.
Yeah. But it's such a strong history in the town, and you're in the shop tonight, Alfredo.
Yeah, we're still open. We're still going. We're concentrating now on deliveries, like home deliveries, to try and help people that don't want to come out and things. It's changing times.
Yeah, absolutely, Alfredo. Have you been out and about making your own deliveries? Have you got a vehicle of your choice?
No.
Are you sure? we hear you've been doing moped deliveries, Alfredo.
I know. It's a Lambretta.
Andy, that's a scooter. Come on, man.
I was actually one of the customers at the day of the show down at the County Square. They came in to get something to eat and asked them if we could get a photograph outside the shop because it was beautiful.
Brilliant.
It's not
It looks great. I think about jumping on with your Just Eat thing in the back, couple of fish and chips, up the road in the Lambretta.
That's my passion in life. I have a motorbike, but I've not resorted to deliveries yet. One day, you never know. Never say never.
No.
And who you get in tonight then in terms of your crew then, Alfredo?
Well, I've got David who helps me run the shop, and then there's Jane who runs the carry out, and then that's it.
Fantastic. There'll be well-known names, and you might not be able to see this, but we've got social media is just kind of going crazy. We've got some orders coming in for you already. Joan Ferguson, she wants a bag of chips.
A bag of chips.
A bag of chips. Very good.
I'm sure she means chips
A
and
bag of chips.
lots of salt and vinegar. And you've got, I think, Christina is in. Christina, who was your first boss? You were our first boss, is that right?
Yes, she worked here a long time ago. Yes.
Oh, fantastic!
And daughter.
Yeah, Alfredo, you still got that bag of tail just as you go in the right?
Yes, it's still there.
What is it takes? Was it 2 pences a wee while ago, or was it a penny thing?
It's still working. No, well, it used to be an old penny thing.
Yeah.
Then I got upgraded to a 2 pence.
That's a 2 pence upgrade.
I'm with high tech now.
Do you do deliveries to Chicago, Alfredo?
I've seen that. I'll go from Chicago. Dear. No, I'm afraid the brothers will be in his Barhead and Kilbarkin. Nowhere near America yet.
No, I know yet. I was going to ask, are we back to the history of your family, Alfredo? Whereabouts in Italy were the roots?
Well, Barga. Both sides of my parents. My mum's mum and dad and my dad's mum and dad both came from, came from Barga in the early 1900s. And one went to Barhead. My mum's mum and dad were in Barhead, and my my mum's mum and dad were in Paisley. They came here, and when my gran and grandpa started the shop, my grandpa was still an Italian citizen. So when Italy went with Germany in the war, he was interned. So he left his wife and 2 young girls to at the shop. And my dad was in Barhead, a young. He came to help them in the shop here and loved Lawson. They married my mum, and along came myself and my sister, and they carried on the business. So it just shows you.
Yeah,
I mean, the war brought my mum and dad together, and that's the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, and it's, you know, Paisley's got such a fantastic connection, as we've talked about, you know, to the Italians that, you know, came over and they set up their businesses, whether it was stores or whether it was making ice cream, we'll talk about later on, whether it was fish and chips, right, or whatever, and they've just adopted Paisley as their hometown. You know, what was it for Paisley that made it so special to everyone?
I don't actually know why Paisley, but a lot of them came from Barg at the beginning. They were because Barg is quite a hilly place surrounded by forestry. A lot of them came to work in for the Duke of Argyll up at Inverary.
Okay.
And they had to do so many years, obviously, and then they were given the chance, after they'd done so many years of forestry, they were given the chance to go into the community and start their own business. So a lot of them came to Paisley. The Nardini family and the Castelvecchi family, not our connection to the Castelvecchis, they're the 2 big families from Largs. Before they went to Largs, were in Paisley. And there was a lot of work for them here with the mills and all the factories. So a lot of them came to work for them and then got their own places eventually and went into their own businesses. So I think the 2 big families from Largs had a lot to do with them coming to Paisley.
Yeah.
At the beginning, originally.
Piero mentioned that actually when he was on a few weeks ago, that the Piericinis came over with the Nardinis, and you know, that kind of sparked the idea for this particular show. You know.
Yeah, there was a lot of work in Paisley in those days. I mean, you think of many factories. There was work for everyone in Paisley, so all these people had to be fed. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
To start up.
Yeah, a lot of clever people, because they've picked things that became staple, things that you still need now.
I know.
You've been selling fish and chips for over 100 years.
Well, you know, there are older people that come in and remember coming in here with their granny, and they're in their 80s now. So how many years have been, and they're still going. So it can't be that bad for you. A good fish supper is not bad for you.
Not at all. That's right. Not at all. And, you know, the number of fish teas that I've had in Castlevecchi's, you know, you lose count of them. It's great, you know, getting in and getting a fish.
It's handy for the bull in as well.
Yeah, that's true. We pint to wash it all down. What's the strangest thing you've ever been asked to deep fry, Alfredo? I'm curious.
Well, just the chocolate stuff. That's about the only thing.
Is that it?
Yeah. Mars bars is obvious, but we've done the Freddos.
Aye.
Egg. Obviously a bar of dairy milk. Anything chocolate. They'll try anything.
That could have been a signature dish.
What?
A deep fried Freddo.
A bit of ice cream and Mars bar together is lovely.
A deep fried Freddo.
Now, Alfredo, it would be remiss of us to mention, or not to mention rather, that you don't have 1 or 2 famous connections. And I really hope you don't mind me showing this particular picture, but as I was doing a wee bit of research tonight, this one jumped off the page at me because it's just an absolute belter. Can you remember this one?
Yes, I do indeed. We did. We went to you had a talk show at I can't remember if it was the Hydro or one of them places in the SEC. And luckily, after it, his manager had connections with a person that had done a tour with Paolo before. So I got a couple of minutes with Al Pacino, and we have something else in common.
Go on.
His name is Alfredo as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And he was named after his grandfather, like myself. So we're both named after the grandfather. So
I saw that earlier on, and I just thought I need to show folk that picture. Yeah, it's just a belter.
I only got a couple of minutes with him. Just shook his hand and said hello. But I'm a big fan of The Godfather, as you can guess. So that was a great moment.
You spoke earlier about the handing down from generation to generation. Have you started to think about the legacy?
Yes, I do indeed. I mean, I would hate to be the one that stops the chain, but I'll go on as long as I can. I've got to know so many people. They're not just customers now; they're friends. They're people I've known all my days, and it's just a way of life. It's not just a job or a chore. It's just, I love it. I could go on forever. If my body keeps going, I'll keep going.
Yeah. You need to be dragged out of there.
Yes, that's it. Well, I left school. I came here. I used to work with my mum and dad in the shop. So I've got so many memories. My grandfather I never met because he died quite young. But my grandmother, she brought me up because my mum and dad were working. That's how I learned to speak. I can speak Italian.
Yeah.
Luckily, that my grandmother was in the house with us, and she only spoke Italian. So it's a great thing to have. I love having the language and the culture, and obviously, as you can see by the size of the food, I love pasta. I love wine and things. So I've got 63 years. It hasn't done many harm yet. So hopefully, I hope we can keep going another few years.
I can still hear the buzz in the background there. It feels a great atmosphere.
Aye,
one of the good days we had was the last time St Mirren. Funnily, the first time St Mirren won the cup, I was with my mum and dad at the town hall watching them getting the trophy. The second time they won it, I think they won it 3 times, or am I wrong?
3, yeah.
Yeah. The second time, Paolo was with his mother at the town hall watching them lift the trophy. And then the third time, we had it was a Sunday, and we had that kind of St Mirren breakfast in here before they went to the game, and we had a lot of them coming back after. So we had a great day that day as well. So there's a good connection as well with St Mirren as well.
I know, that's great. A couple of comments coming in on social media here for you, Alfredo. Councillor Eddie Devine, Betty Pacino tells folk he's met Alfredo.
That's it. He met the real Don.
I'm sure Pacino's got a picture of you and him up in his.
I will have. He will have.
Now we've got a couple of requests, and I have to ask this first. Who is Linda, Alfredo? Well, Linda's your wife, right? Okay, because we've got a couple of requests here for how Linda is doing, and we would love for Linda to say hello.
She's not here, I'm afraid.
Not in tonight.
No.
It would have been great to get a tour of the chippy tonight, Alfredo, but I know you and the tech might not want to shift what you've got in front of you and mess that up.
No, I might end up switching it off, and then I'll be
don't want to.
Well, do you want to? I can try. Hold on.
Aye. Go for it. Go for it.
Here we go. Right.
That's it. There you go.
That's all the action there for the Rangers.
It looks fantastic, Alfredo. It still looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It's actually a small oasis, and you just come in and sit, mind your own business, plate of chips, and a glass of Vimto.
Not changed a bit. Vimto, I was always Tango or kind of fizzy orange juice with a fish supper guy.
Yeah.
The original was Vimto. A fish supper Vimto. I was definitely the original.
I'll need to.
I don't think Andrew was there yet.
No, I don't think so.
I'll definitely need to give that a time. A try next time that I'm in, Alfredo. And in terms of all these COVID restrictions, obviously you're doing a lot of stuff on the takeaway. But what's your kind of plans going forward?
The only thing to have we've had to block off some of the tables. We only have every second table open.
Right.
What I've got to do the kind of track and trace when they come in and leave a contact number. But so far, everything. It's more deliveries now. I would say the biggest thing now is the second part. The older people that come in for the fish teas aren't coming out yet. They're still worried and they're not got the confidence yet to come out. And then things aren't getting much better yet. There's it's on the rise again. So I can see deliveries will be the main.
But the message is, Alfredo, you're going strong. You're there for a long time yet. And if you want your fish tea and your sausage supper delivered, then Kastelvici is the place to go. And
we also started doing oven pizzas now, so real Italian style oven pizzas. So
we'll need to get ourselves in there. Well, listen, Alfredo, it's been fantastic for us to come and join you in your workplace, Alfredo, and it's been great to hear the history and the story of the family and the town, and we've also cleared up part of the pronunciation for Castlevecchi, so thank you so much. Now, Alfredo, I don't know if you're going to be rushing to get back to work tonight, but you're more than welcome to stay on throughout our chat with our next guest, who might.
I've got to get back to work. I would like to say hello to Enzo, because I've known Enzo. Enzo and I have grown up together, so I would like to say a quick hello. But I better get back and I maybe get my books here. I better get back to that.
Well, let's bring Enzo in at the same time, Andy.
Fantastic. Let's do that. Enzo, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Enzo, good to see you.
Hi, Alfredo.
There's your pal.
Hello, Enzo. Good
how you doing, Fred?
I'm good, thanks. As I was telling him, you and I grew up together. We've been together for a while, so
absolutely, yes.
A lot of changes in Paisley.
Funny, our dads. We were talking about Piero just quickly. I was just scribbling down there. Alfredo's dad, Jackie, and there was another. Some of them are passed now, or some of them are no longer here. But in Piero as well, his dad Mario, Alfredo's dad Jackie, my dad Sandro. And then there was Ennio Pieri, who's passed now, and another Italian from the town, Luciano Corriere as well, laundrettes in Paisley.
Corriere,
their entertainment, because they all just worked all the time, that generation, and they enjoyed their wee drop in to Harvey's, and they used to play dominoes on a Wednesday and stuff like that. So that was all these guys that we're talking about here that spent all their days working, really, and their kind of social time at the time was just going into Harvey's bar and having a wee game of dominoes and a wee half pint and a wee half and stuff like that,
Right.
Alfredo's dad was one of that crew as well.
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic.
It's amazing to hear all these connections that are in your not too distant past, but it's part of our heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember them sitting down in Harvey's, and in those days they had the weekend of alcoves. It wasn't as open as now, but they would all be in there, and there was a lot of arguments as well. And they were sometimes it was quite heated. That's Italian temperament,
You don't want to get in the way of that.
They all walked out friends in the end up, but. I think the biggest argument was who's buying the next drink. Who would offer a cigarette? Who would try to take it out of their pocket?
Good old days, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
I was about to introduce the show earlier on and said we could have a fortnight of Italian connections, but the heritage in Paisley, Barga, and all the towns, and coming over to Glasgow and Paisley is really, really quite deep. And we could talk about it forever, actually, with all your connections you've brought up there, Enzo, which are quite different, quite new to me. I didn't know that some of those connections you mentioned.
Yeah, and the same with Alan Totti, his dad as well. There's so many between the chip shops, laundrettes, obviously ice cream, cafes, going back in those days as well, and going back to a lot of them in those days, they used to bring people over from Italy because they just found that in the 40s, the 30s, those times when Italy was really on its knees, there was no jobs, people would be the ones that would come over and try and establish something, and then they'd be phoning to try and get their uncle or their cousin or a relative to encourage them to come over as another pair of hands, etc. And that's how the families just all kind of gradually came over.
Yeah.
It's just
Conti's another one. Was that the hairdressers up the Nielsen Road?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Tom Conti is a relation of theirs.
Yeah, I think so, Fredo.
Actor Tom Conti is a relation of them.
Yeah, we're still trying to get Tom Conti onto the show, track him down, see if we can get the chat show. And Perotti, I went through school with a number of the Perottis, you know.
Yeah, Louis, Michael, there was 3 of the brothers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael stays across the road from me here, you know, so I see him out walking his dog on a regular basis. But you know, you got to know the families, and they were all such friendly families. But you know, those that had the shops and the chip shops and restaurants and ice cream factories, and they've really powered Paisley and fed Paisley over goodness knows how many years.
Good.
Yeah, your connection ends the way back to the early 1900s as well, isn't it?
Yeah, my grandfather came over as well. I think it was 1919 or thereabouts. Like Alfredo was saying, when they did come over, I think my nonno ended up working in farms and things like that, because they came over and they had to do maybe a year or two, just helping as labour on farms and doing stuff. And then they got their kind of not their freedom, but the ability then to go off and do their own thing. And and I mean, as I showed you earlier on, or brought in the kind of first cafe they had way back in the 20s and stuff like that, the Abercorn Rest, my nonno there.
So who's in that picture then, Enzo?
Well, to be honest, I can't tell you the 3. I think one will be my nonna, who I wouldn't have known, because the nonna that I had originally, well, my mum's mum and dad, my mum's mum passed away before I was born.
Okay.
And that would have been Mr. Pirelli, so I couldn't really tell you who the other ones are.
That's
it's a lovely photograph, it really is.
Where actually is that, Enzo? Is that gone now, that actual building?
I think that was in Lawn Street.
Right.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
We usually have a few historians watching the programme as well that might be able to come in with some information on that.
It's a fantastic family image, and for that to be the early days, and for you now to be the custodian of the business must be.
Well, like Alfredo, I'm third generation in the business. So my name's Auntie. So my dad, it was my mum's side that was the Pirelli. So my mum was a Pirelli.
Right.
My dad came over in 1959 and kind of not long after married my mum, and he got into just working at Pirelli's at the time, because at that time they were down in Underwood Lane, which was a wee pen just off Wells Street.
Yeah.
And down there was a small, I remember it because I was when it was probably 1966, 67. I remember obviously being quite young, but that's where the wee factory was. My grand's house was there. My grandpa had 3 or 4 ice cream vans there, and most of the vans at that time were all Italian guys that had come over. Some of them are still alive today. Some of them are still living here. Some are past, and I think we had a factory there, and Tommy worked there a little while. Tommy McGrory, Tommy, and then we moved to.
Say I'm going to head off to back to work. Okay.
Oh, no problem.
See you later, Alfredo.
See you later.
Ciao. Yeah. So, and that was where it kind of the wholesale and manufacturing kind of moved along from. Supplying other cafes, it was mainly ice cream vans back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And then we moved there was a compulsory purchase, because that was a pen and there was flats above, etc. And the family then found a site in Lacey Street where we still are today. And they built a factory there. and it was an old bakery, I think. And they started producing again. And yeah, small team, maybe 4 or 5 people, ice cream vans. It was all family work there. So it was aunts and uncles and cousins and people that had all come over, or friends that had come over from Italy to sort of seek their fortune, sort of thing.
Yeah, the name is so well known in the town, and I think Gary shared me some images that I think Enzo you'd sent across, and this was another one which was, 90 years anniversary within Paisley from San Baggio to Scotland. So some great pictures, and I think in that, are you in one of these pictures as well, Enzo?
Yeah. Well, the picture to the left is there's myself and Marco, my cousin, are the 2 wee kids on the bonnet. The chap next to me, or next to Marco, is Sergio, Gary, right?
Yeah.
And the woman in front is Sergio's mum, my auntie, Sia Pacifica. Yeah. So that's going back. We're probably what we're maybe there. I don't know, 3-4 years old. So that will be. I was born in 1960, so that'll be 63, 60, thereabout 62, 63.
Right.
Yeah.
And
amazing images to have, Enzo. When we were chatting the other day about Sergio and being our guy in the street, I didn't know Andy worked in the vans as well.
Neither did I. Yeah.
And I think Ramey's in tonight tuning in because he was a van boy. There, he's putting a few comments up, Andy.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
But Sergio was such a brilliant man. He always felt to me like he was about 40 odd, 50.
That's right. Yeah.
But we were teenagers running about Thrushcraigs, and it was you were going down for your packet of crisps and your bottle of ginger and your cone.
Yeah.
And he always remembered us, and it's great to hear he's still about.
Yeah, he is. He's still about. He comes over from time to time because his daughter Chiara and his son Emilio still live here, so he comes over to see his grandkids and stuff like that. So he's over once a year.
Emilio, he was your former hairdresser's in tonight, Enzo.
My former hairdresser.
I used to do. Oh no, it was actually, it might have been Mrs.
My wife.
My
wife's here, Catherine.
Who put me in control of these things tonight?
You misread.
I know.
What area of Italy was it your family came from, Enzo?
Well, my nonno came from San Biagio, right?
So another part of Italy.
Yeah. So most of the Italians that you find that have, because it's in Edinburgh as well, there's quite a spread of Italians between kind of central Scotland, to be honest. But our family came from further south, so it was more from beside Casino. So if you go south of Casino, sort of Rome's the middle point normally. Yeah. So I've been to Barga, and I know Fredo's folks and a lot of people, like some of the names I mentioned, Ennio Pieri and Luciano Corrieri, the other Italian guy, they were all from Barga in that area. Whereas our family came from further south, San Biagio, Venafro. My dad came from Venafro, which is maybe about 20-minute drive south of Casino, where the war, there was what do you call it? An army. There was a war there, so there's a beautiful cemetery there of all sorts of nationalities that are in it. Beautiful. And Monte Cassino was the site of a really big fight there, the Italians and the Germans. So we, as a kid, like Alfredo, as a kid growing up, I used to go to Italy for 4, 5, 6 weeks, most, sometimes every second year. So I speak fluent Italian, the same as Alfredo, because we grew up with our parents always. My dad, he's 82, and he doesn't hardly speak a word of English even today. So my dad had the Caprice in Gordon Street for about 20 odd years, and he had the Pirelli's chip shop the Caprice in Gilmer Street. And Gordon Street, the chip shop, Pirelli's chip shop in Gordon Street. And he had another chip shop in Silk Street that he opened. But he retired about 20 years ago now. But my mum, that's where I kind of fell into the business when I kind of grown up. And then because it was two families. It was quite complicated at the time. It was a couple of families that were involved at Pirelli's. So it was cousins. So it was my cousin and their family. So growing up was interesting because we were all working there. It really was a family business because it was all cousins and brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles and everybody else that worked here in the very early days.
Yeah. As we were chatting earlier on, I was mentioning I used to be a van boy for Marco, and I loved working in the van. It was absolutely fantastic. I was telling Gary earlier on that when Marco interviewed me, my interview was one question and you had to give him a quick answer straight away. And as you know, van boys needed to be quick with their numbers, because you had to add up all the packets of crisps and bottles of ginger and all that sort of stuff. And the interview question was dead simple. What's half a 99? Which most folks say 45 and a half, but it's 49 and a half. And thankfully I had got it right. So he was like, that's you get a job.
You get a job.
So I was Andy Boy. That was my nickname. Everybody had a nickname.
That's right.
My pal Stephen, he was called Roy for some reason.
Very good.
He was called Roy. Mark was called Sam. Nobody had a proper name, but the laughs that we had with Marco on that van was just was brilliant,
You were up and around Hunter Hill, Andy? Hunter
Hill area, and we had a wee slot out in Darnley that we went out to Darnley. We had to be in by 7 and out by 8 because I think it was Perducci that had the slots round about that kind of thing. So it was a couple of interesting nights out in Darnley, but we get in and out as we did. But it was great fun, absolutely great fun.
Yeah, sounds like it. Enzo, you were telling me the other day when we were chatting about which came as a real surprise to me about the family connection to the Centurion at top of New Street.
Yeah, well, that came along, and that was my Uncle Jan, who passed away very young. Actually, he was in those days. He was a kind of he was running Pirelli's, so I would say that was pre 1977. Because he passed away in 77, he was only 45 years old.
Okay.
With a brain hemorrhage, that thing. So he was quite entrepreneurial. He brought the first pizzas to Paisley way back, and there were frozen pizzas before pizzas existed.
Right.
And they brought them here. The connections in Italy and relatives, and they were saying, right, why don't you try these over there? Because people didn't know in the 60s what a pizza really was. So I remember
that's almost unbelievable to hear.
Yeah, and it didn't work. It was too early. They were it was ahead of their time. People didn't know what they were.
My goodness. That's a shocker because you can't go anywhere without there being a pizza.
I know.
Well, Pirelli's obviously known for their ice cream, Gary, and you were talking about various ice creams. Now, my good lady wife has just returned, and what have you got for me here, Claire? wait till you see this. And it is, I can tell you, it is Pirelli's ice cream. Oh, look at this.
Oh, that's a treat.
Enzo.
Oh, fantastic.
Well done. Well done. In a shell.
I've not had a shell for an oyster, sorry.
Well, an oyster was posh. That had a bit of cream in the bottom, mate.
That's right. Bit of mallow.
I used to make these up.
Andy, you were asking me earlier on what is the significance in a 99 and what does it mean? You never ever told me.
No, I don't know. Maybe Enzo. Why is a 99 called a 99? Where does the 99 come from, Enzo?
Oh, do you know what? I can't tell you. If you'd asked me that question, I'd have been able to look up the information because I asked the Ice Cream Federation a while back what 99, how it came about, and they sent me a wee reply which I've got saved somewhere in my archives. So I can't really tell you off the top of my head, and it's not because it's a secret.
I was going to say, isn't it like the magic circle?
No, it's not a secret. I just can't remember what it was.
If anyone knows on social media why a 99 is called a 99.
I got it totally wrong, Andy, didn't I? I thought it was something to do with the flake.
Well, it is that the flake is the thing that makes a cone a 99.
Yeah.
But
why it's called a 99?
I was on your website earlier on today, Enzo, doing a wee bit of kind of research, and this is hopefully up on screen, so everybody can check out Pirelli ice cream on Facebook, and it's just tons of the most mouth-watering. I absolutely love ice cream, and it is just tons of the most mouth-watering ice cream that you can possibly imagine. You obviously spend a lot of time getting your photography and all that right, because it just looks, your whole brand, your marketing image just looks brilliant. But this was one of my favourites. I liked that one in a relationship with ice cream.
I seen an ice cream float there, Andy, with Iron Brew. That just whetted my appetite. Did you see that one?
Oh, did I pass that? Yeah, we had a strange name for them in our house. See, my mum would call that an undisturbed.
Right.
Because you would put your ice cream into your ginger and you would just let it kind of settle, and then you would drink your ginger and then you would scoop out your ice cream. For some reason, that was called an undisturbed in our house.
Oh,
no idea why. No idea why, but
we've had a few folk trying to solve the 99. I think they've got the 99 solution.
The elite cream of the 99. What is it? That one there? Hold on.
There's one for Joan there that looks quite impressive and quite real. Aye, that one.
What do you reckon? Can you read that? Okay.
Yeah. So the King of Italy had an elite bodyguard consisting of 99 men. So anything elite was called 99s by Italians. So they called the elite ice cream a 99.
Yeah. Now that I see that rings a bell. The thing I got. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's
well done, Joan.
That's amazing. We've solved the secret. The secret's out.
Really good. And are you you still pretty hands-on, Enzo? We've been. COVID was we did quite well, because in the sense that a lot of the takeaways remained open. Yep.
And we supply a lot of ice cream parlours, ice cream shops, as well as obviously supplying ice cream and desserts to restaurants and hotels, which have obviously taken a slowdown. But the takeaways have been continually moving, and some of them doing record numbers, to be fair.
Yep.
So we've got everybody back to work. We employ 22 people, all Paisley people, to be honest. I've got quite a lot of staff that have had 20 years, 15, 18, 14 years service with us. So hopefully that speaks good for Pirelli's and for, it's great to have staff that loyalty. It just makes the business as well, because you've got people that know what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and they've got a passion for the business, like myself, to be honest. So it makes it quite a good and pleasant job as well.
Yeah.
So we produce about 80 odd flavours of ice cream that we sell in all these, primarily in the catering scooping range that goes into cafes and parlours, etc. And we've got our own fleet of vehicles that deliver to the Central Belt.
Yep.
So the business is, we built a new factory in 2008. So we we stayed on the same site, and the factory there is 2 or 3 times bigger than the factory before that. And what used to be the van garage that you would remember, Andy, where we garaged ice cream vans, is now what where the new factory is. So in there we've got a kind of purpose-built facility, which has allowed the business to develop and grow. And that's why the ice cream van trade was something that was sadly was a thing of the past, with the 24-hour petrol stations and all the convenience stores, and even the housing schemes. You look at Fergusley and Gallaghill and Glenburn, all these places used to have big tall tenements, 4, 5, 6 high. So the ice cream vans used to have quite a catchment of business, and now all these areas have all been renovated and refurbished, and they're all single front and back doors. And people now shop differently.
Ice cream chimes. The first ice cream person, I grew up in Hunter Hill, and it was Agostino's.
Agostino, yeah. He's still alive as well.
Is he? Oh my goodness.
He's still alive. He lives in. He comes from the same village as my dad. He comes from Benafro.
I mean, he was obviously. I was just a boy, so he looked like he was you know, an older man when we were going round, and he had quite a distinctive van. It wasn't just a regular one. It's quite odd.
He had a softy machine in the back.
Aye, and grew up there, but it's absolutely fantastic. Such brilliant heritage in the town, really is, Enzo.
And I was going to say, one of the most long-standing businesses and stable, and probably one of the bigger employers now in the town, Enzo, with that level of employment.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, it's, well, as I said, I'm proud to be the custodian of that business for the last. I've been there since I left school, so I've been there 40 odd years now.
Yeah.
And it's great fun. It's a product, just like you said earlier on about Alfredo. You know, it's affordable. Fish and chips is something that people want.
Yeah.
You know, ice cream. Latterly, in the last number of years, with the amount of parlours that have opened, have taken off to replace the old cafes, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
But again, it's affordable. It's comfort food. People get happy eating ice cream, and it's, you know, like fish and chips and stuff. And it's not going to break the bank, you know.
Absolutely. And on you go, Gary.
No, I was just going to say it's just brilliant to hear the stories of heritage, and our thanks must go to you and your family, and Alfredo and his family, and all those other Italian families for what they've brought to our town. And of course, you're a Paisley buddy now, of course.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it'd be good to see the town itself get stronger. It used to be, you know, I mean, it used to be just, you know, so much going on in Paisley, so much industry in Paisley. You know, even Linwood and stuff all around Paisley was just so the mill and stuff like that. You know, there was just so much industry going on, and so it's thriving. And then over the last 30 years, it's just pushed everything away. And before you know it, as Alfredo was saying, the high street there is decimated. And Paisley's probably not any different from other small towns that have just kind of get pushed to the side, and these big shopping centres have kind of popped up. And then they stop traffic, get into Paisley, so people, especially old folks, that can't really get about. So
start to go elsewhere, and that's really what, you know, Paisley Community Trust is all about, Enzo. Is, you know, how can we, from a community point of view, kind of reshape the town centre, put a community focus on it. And of course, you know, our big plan is cinema. For the high street, a community cinema would be great. Ice cream and community cinema goes really well together.
Absolutely.
And then obviously there's the you know, the Marks and Spencers choosing to leave the high street. You know, what happens after that? And, you know, we think there's some potentially good options for the town if we can figure that out with them. You know, so it'll be interesting to see how that one plans out. But Enzo, thank you so much indeed for coming on the show tonight. And this oyster is just tremendous. The Pirelli's van is taking me back to my time on the van, you know, to be quite honest.
It might even make me have another bag of Gammon crisps again. I remember that was my thing. Go for a pack of cheddar Gammon crisps. I've been off the crisp for a while. And Ramey's got a few theories about the 99 as well, but it's good that we've solved that. I don't think there's any duality about it. I know you probably go away and double check that, Enzo, now, and just
that looked quite familiar. The 99 bodyguards thing. I think that's quite.
I'll just accept that is the answer. A wee suggestion here: Pirelli's Ice Cream Cafe in Paisley. Oh, good question.
Good question.
And
never say never, but who knows?
You never know. You never know what's coming next, Enzo.
Correct.
I mean, the massive injection that's coming soon from the government. We spoke last week, I think it was in the show, about 275 million being put aside by the Scottish Government for town centre regeneration. And we as Paisley Community Trust are looking for a bit of that. We're looking for that to kickstart the town centre regeneration, and we're part of that. We're lobbying quite at a high level, at government level. So if we get a chunk of that, Enzo, we know where you are.
Correct. Okay. Yes, we can have a wee chat.
We'll have a
Listen,
conversation.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you for asking me on. Real
It's been
pleasure.
great having you on, Enzo. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All the best. Thank you.
See you later on, Enzo.
Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye. Gary, see this ice cream? It's fantastic.
Oh, is it running down your wrists yet?
Starting to get a bit messy now.
Andy, I remember Sergio's van and them. That was a special night though. I think that must have been a Thursday every month. You got one of them.
An oyster. Or
An
a
oyster.
shell. I liked a single nugget. A single nugget was quite good.
Well, you were out in the van.
Aye.
You knew the favourites.
But when I was buying, somebody mentioned, I think it was Raimi mentioned a double nugget.
You get double nuggets, yeah.
A double nugget was just too much nugget. It was just too big. You just couldn't quite get your mouth open wide enough.
You get a double cone.
Oh, aye.
I have a double cone.
Some raspberry sauce.
So what's there, Andy? See how dexterous you are with this. What if you had a double cone with 2 flakes in it? What does that add up to?
That's 198, Gary.
There you go. Nobody ever asked for that. You're all right there. But again, Andy, this show, the guests make it. This show,
Pirelli's ice cream is the best.
That's going to be my Thursday night treat tomorrow. There's Raimi, 198, spot on. As I said, Andy, the guests make this show, and you can tell by the social media down the side of the panel that I look at anyway, how much interest there is. Eddie had a comment earlier on,
right?
And I think it just shows you the depth of interest there is in the heritage of the people that come on our show and tell their stories.
Yeah.
And wasn't it just? It's really so interesting to hear that background and where these guys come into the country and embed themselves in the community.
Because you had Alfredo and Enzo, both of them had so much knowledge of the generation before and the generation before that, and who all the different lines and the different uncles and cousins and aunties and grandparents and so on, and how they all played a part together. And I think that's a wonderful thing, is that, you know, both Enzo and Alfredo mentioned they're now third generation within the town, and with doing what they're doing, and that, I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? That they, you know, those families all those years ago, and they'll go back over 100 years, came into Paisley, settled in Paisley, rolled their sleeves up, worked hard, created businesses, employed people, and provided us with fish and chips and ice cream, you know, whatever it might have been. It's such an important part of the town's history. It really is.
Yeah, but so very clever, Andy, to notice those niches that the human needs.
Yeah.
Every one of those businesses are human interface.
Yeah.
So Conti's the hairdresser. You had the dry cleaners. You've got ice cream. You've got restaurants, cafes, Chippy. These guys are no daft. And one thing I did notice, particularly in some of the things that Enzo was saying, was the respect that he has for his family, the respect that he's shown to the founder guy who came over, and he called him Mr. Pirelli. That takes me back to the days when we used to run about in the scheme, and you'd see your neighbour 30 years later, and you'd still call him Mr. Scott or Mr. Campbell or Mr. Kerr. All of that still goes on, and that's just respect.
That's how I was brought up, Gary. You'd call the neighbours on one side Mr. and Mrs. McCallum, the neighbours on the other side Mr. and Mrs. Rankin.
Yeah.
And you know, even school teachers today, you know, you meet them out with, it's still Mr. this or Mrs. that or Ms. this. You just that's just respect. Yeah,
I know when we've met in the cafe and you've met your friend who's now, you call him Jack.
Yes.
And I can't.
That's a struggle.
Yeah, because he's just Mr. Keen.
He is just even I call my mother-in-law Mrs. Lyon. I don't call her Ma or Ma, or, you know, even Jean. You know, that would be a tough one for me. It's Mrs. line, just our generation.
I think that's the way it is, and we're noticing that with Enzo saying that about his grandfather, Mr. Pirelli.
Yeah,
just so respectful.
Absolutely. That's why all of my kids, I make sure their pals all call me Mr. Campbell. I don't answer to Andy. It's Mr. Campbell, and they all do.
Aye, my dad still goes like that now and again. See what he called me? They called you Mr. Cares. That's just respectful.
I know it was a fantastic show, and thanks as always goes out to everyone that's joined in on Facebook tonight. It's been really, really busy in terms of comments, because it just shows you that we always talk about putting community at the heart of Paisley, but what you can see is companies like the Pirellis, shops, Notini's and Castlevecchi's, they are at the heart of Paisley. They have made Paisley what Paisley is.
Absolutely, Andy.
And they still keep a really, really special place in everyone that knows Paisley. And it's just if Castlevecchi's or Pirelli's could do deliveries to Chicago and New York and Washington, they would be inundated with orders, because we've had those folks tuning in tonight as well, which is brilliant. What would
we be without all of that mixed tapestry of people that we've got in our town?
It's awesome, Gary. It's
brilliant.
It's brilliant.
And we're so privileged to bring those types of guests into your living room, and we're delighted to do it. It's great fun for us. And as I said, it's the guests that make this show. We're delighted to bring these people on. It
is brilliant. So we've had our Italian special tonight, Gary. I've won a watch here, because I'm making my way through this oyster here. But what's up next week, Gary? What have we got on next week?
Well, in the planning, I think it's about time we had a media week.
Right.
We sent a note out to a couple of people, but we want to shine a light on some of the media that's in and around the town that's actually doing something similar to us, but in a different format. So we've got printed media, we've got radio media. So we're going to try and bring that together, get a couple of people on from those types of environments, put a name to the face, and talk about our town again.
Just keep going, Gary. I'm still munching on this ice cream here.
Aye, I've noticed. Aye, so media week. So if Paul's available, if Paul's watching from the Mill magazine, we'd like him on. And we've got two radio stations, Paisley Digital and Paisley FM.
Yep.
We're going to try and dovetail the two radio stations with print media in the middle. I think that might be the makings of a good show. And we're projecting a couple of weeks forward as well. We've got a couple of things a couple of irons in the fire. If we can pull that off, it's media week next week.
A few lined up. And don't forget, folks, we have our Pixels logo competition. There's still time to take part in this. For those of you that don't know, PXLS, Pixels Paisley Cross La Scala, is the proposed new community cinema for Paisley that Paisley Community Trust are working on. And what we have on right now is a logo design competition. So if you're in any way artistically talented, even if you're not, and you just want to scribble or doodle something down, take a picture of your artwork or design your artwork and send it in to Paisley Trust. All of the details can be found on our website, which is at www.paisleytrust.org. And when does the competition close, Gary? Is at the end of the month, isn't it?
End of September. And we've had our first overseas interest in that competition with an entry from the Philippines, which is quite something else.
Yeah.
And tonight's show, I must admit, it's quite an international feel about tonight's show. Never mind it being Italy special. There's people from all over the world tuning in tonight, Andy.
Absolutely. They've been tuning in from New York. We had New York on, we had Chicago, and as far away as Glenburn, Gary.
Aye, and Remy, are you still in Figi? So a really good international mix. and it's been another brilliant show, Andy. Really, really brilliant show. Will we tie up?
I think we're going to wrap up the show for tonight. So, folks, thank you once again for joining in. Huge thanks goes out to Alfredo and Enzo for joining us. And,
thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in and watching and taking part in the show with your comments and feedback. Much appreciated. Just leaves for us to say a very, very good night from me.
And good night from me. Ciao.
Cheers. See you later.